Hi guys, welcome to Yesterday's Coffee, the podcast where we chat about fitness, nutrition, and business all over coffee that may or may not have been brewed yesterday. And today we are talking about sweeteners.
Artificial sweeteners. And
Well, I said sweeteners just because, what if we talk about natural sweeteners too? That's not artificial.
I mean, I guess we could do that too.
We're talking about sweeteners.
Yeah.
Artificial, natural, and otherwise, I guess. So, what are your thoughts, Kyle?
Or we just open it up as this open question.
Yeah, I think so.
I think they're fine. What do you think, Alexa?
Okay, well, I obviously disagree with you. I mean, I swear we've talked about this before on our podcast. Maybe not.
No, we've never talked about the same topic more than once in any episode ever.
Okay. You don't need to be sarcastic. So I have read research, and obviously with my background being a little bit more towards general health, but also chronic disease, I think I have a little bit of a different perspective on it.
Absolutely.
I shouldn't say I know that it impacts gut health, but there's strong evidence that it impacts gut health, specifically the diversity of your gut bacteria, which your body has so much bacteria that control so many different functions. We are mostly bacteria, just as human beings in general. But what we know is that the more diverse your bacteria, the better.
Sure.
Pretty much. So for some reason, artificial sweeteners, and it probably is because your gut bacteria can't feed off of them very well. Your gut bacteria can't eat them the same way that your gut bacteria can feed off of sugar and fiber. So you lose diversity in your gut.
So is there any evidence as to the volume of artificial sweeteners that would have any impact there?
The study that was done, I think, sometime last year or 2 years ago, I think they said it was like a few diet sodas a day, which
Really
is higher for some people, lower for other people. So I think it depends.
See, just about everything that I've seen when testing artificial sweeteners shows that there is no attributable detriment to health until you get to inordinate amounts of this stuff.
Well,
like stuff that you couldn't possibly consume.
Sure, but I think the problem with a lot of the studies that were done previously were that they are measuring immediate responses.
Well, some are carried out for a little bit longer.
Sure, some are carried out for a bit of time. But again, I think what they're measuring, what they're looking at, and the health markers they're looking at don't adequately give you a picture of gut health, right? They're not taking stool samples from these people. They're not taking samples of your gut bacteria. They're measuring, blood labs and blood values and reported symptoms, right?
Sure. I don't know if they've ever done a study like that. Have you looked into it?
A study like what? What do you mean? Like where they've taken that sample? No. So I'm trying to remember. I should have pulled it up before what that study was like, how it was measured. But maybe that study did measure that.
I don't know. I was just asking.
Yeah. I should have had it pulled up on the computer, but I don't. But that's something else to consider is I think a lot of those studies, they don't necessarily look specifically at gut bacteria, but the one study that was done a couple years ago was comparing, or I guess looking at the effect on gut bacteria specifically. So they would have had to measure it somehow. But
and you're saying that's just from a couple of diet drinks a day?
Yes. Well, and the other thing is right now, since gut health is such a hot topic, they're creating more studies. So right now, we don't have any data. Yeah, we're not going to have data for a few years. But right now, they're very much diving into connecting a lot of different things with gut health. The couple of studies that I know of right now are, there's one linked to artificial sweeteners and sweeteners in general. And then there's another study, this one's being done in Europe, actually, on processed food and gut health and overall, gut bacteria diversity and I think IBS symptoms or symptoms of Crohn's and colitis and other gut disorders. So that's actually really interesting because as of yet, there hasn't been a very good study on actual processed food versus a whole food, high quality ingredient based diet.
Yeah.
On symptoms for people with gut diseases.
Sure. So I can say this. As far as consuming artificial sweeteners goes, I think nobody would argue that consuming them doesn't provide a benefit. I think that's pretty clear cut.
Say that again? No one
Consuming
would say...
artificial sweeteners does not benefit you.
Wait, why? What? I'm confused.
That's your whole argument, is that consuming artificial sweeteners does not benefit you.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Right. It's common sense.
I thought you said nobody is saying that.
No.
No, yeah, I'm saying that.
I'm saying that...
No, I'm so confused.
I'm saying that nobody would say that consuming artificial sweeteners would benefit you. Nobody would say that. Nobody is arguing that consuming artificial sweeteners is a benefit.
Yeah, they are. The American Heart Association, or not the American Heart Association.
Are you understanding what I'm saying?
I think so.
That consuming these are a beneficial thing?
Yeah, there are government agencies that say consuming artificial sweeteners is a benefit if it helps you lower your body weight.
No. That's not what I'm talking about.
Oh.
What are
you talking about?
In a vacuum.
Okay.
If I eat protein, that's good for me. Yes
sure.
or no?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Some people would say no,
if
though.
If I consume an artificial sweet... I'm not going to get into that.
I'm just saying... okay.
If I consume an artificial sweetener, is there any net benefit to the consumption of that thing? You mean
nutritively?
Yes.
Yes. You're correct.
So there's none.
Okay, you worded that so confusingly. That was terrible wording on your part. Not my fault for not understanding.
That was the simplest thing.
No, it wasn't.
I could have possibly tried to convey.
No.
Now, after 2 minutes that we're on the same page here.
Oh my God. What you should have said was...
Please explain this to me.
What you should have said was that nobody is going to say that eating artificial sweeteners has a nutritional benefit to your body.
Has a benefit, yeah. That's what I said.
Yeah, but you lost me there.
Because I didn't throw nutrition
Yeah,
away.
I needed to hear that.
Okay.
Anyway, so...
What was I even talking about?
I don't know.
I had a train of thought because I thought you were just going to say yeah. Regardless.
Sorry.
So now that we know that nobody's arguing...
Okay, so there's no nutritive benefit, right? Your body can't...
Oh my God, just let me talk. Now that we know that there's no nutritional benefit to consuming artificial sweeteners, nobody's arguing that. So throwing them in your diet is not some health thing that you do. But in the grand scheme of things, yeah, that's exactly what my reaction was. Throwing them into your diet in the grand scheme of things is not going to have a huge net negative either. And so what I was trying to eventually get to was the fact that when you put them into your diet in the form of like a diet soda or something of that nature, which gives you the satisfaction of a sweet flavor without impacting you in a caloric way, that is something that you could derive as a benefit. And so what I was going to say is that I find it really interesting.
That's what I said too.
But I find it really interesting, your stance with artificial sweeteners, just because normally your whole thing is about like flexibility and like being able to, if I want to have a little piece of chocolate, I'm going to have a little piece of chocolate. But I feel like, at least from when I've discussed this with you, you feel like it's a hard no on artificial sweeteners.
That's not true. I don't consider it to be a hard no, but I promote eating foods that have as few ingredients as possible and have as many natural ingredients as possible.
Sure. Well, yeah.
So, I mean, you saying artificial sweeteners, like I lump artificial sweeteners kind of in the same group where I would lump like Doritos and Oreos. Like, yeah, sure, if you want to enjoy them, if it adds joy to your life on that day, like, okay, sure, let's build some flexibility in. But it's not something that I would recommend using frequently, and I wouldn't recommend using it long term.
Well, but at the same time, I would argue that you're not going to see the same detriment that you could if you're including something like a very highly caloric food. Because with something like, so say somebody throws one diet drink in a day. Because say they were drinking regular soda before, tons of sugar all the time.
Well, see, if you're talking in comparisons now, that's a little bit different. I'm definitely about baby steps too. If you're trying to work somebody off of, regular soda, I don't necessarily think, I don't think that choosing a diet soda over a regular soda is inherently beneficial.
Really?
I don't really, no.
Why?
Because again, it's like the negative impacts you would see from a regular soda and the negative impacts you could potentially see from an artificial sweetener, even though you don't believe in that, I do believe in that. So if you were controlling your calories and your macros and were able to fit in a regular soda, I don't see a huge difference between that and having a diet soda on top of your regular macros and calories.
Well, yeah, in that example, but what if it's someone that is ordinarily drinking 4 a day and what's that, 170 grams of sugar, and you swap that all to diet and do nothing else? Because then you've just gotten rid of over 600 calories from sugar.
You've gotten rid of calories, but you haven't really addressed the behavioral issue that is drinking 4 sodas in a day. Like, I think that's another problem on its own that should be addressed.
So what's the inherent issue with that? Is it the lack of water consumption because of it, or is it just
it's the cascade. It's the cascade of effects. It's like the whole picture, right? So it's the fact of like, okay, if you're drinking 4 diet sodas a day, you're right. What does your hydration look like? What does your water look like? Are you is this something that translates to other areas of your life? Do you overindulge in other ways too? Does your food reflect that? It's just like this whole cascade of things, and I would start by working on the behavior itself and not just making like a blatant swap from 4 to 4. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but do you think they would be? Do you think those situations would be equal in their health?
Wait, no. I mean, no.
So
obviously, drinking 100 grams of sugar a day is not ideal.
So in that instance, would you say that the diet is healthier?
No, I wouldn't say it's healthier. I would say it's a stepping stone in the right direction, potentially, but...
Wouldn't that mean slightly healthier?
I mean, no, I don't want to say that. I don't think that's true.
See, I'm trying to get you to admit it. But...
I know, because I just don't believe it. Again, because if we're talking 4 diet sodas, like what...
What about 5 and 5?
What... Oh my God. That's worse. What negative effect is it having on, like, the internal mechanics of your body? Like, what negative effect is it potentially having on your metabolism and your gut bacteria and all of those things?
But so, I don't know that evidence is that conclusive. Like that's such like an airy argument, whereas like the effect of sugar in that high of dosage is very clear.
That's true. I can't argue with that. Right. I can't argue with that. I'm just saying from my perspective, there are so many things that happen underneath the surface that cause people long-term health problems and long-term issues that our society as a whole overlooks because they aren't super obvious, right? Sure. If you're talking conventional medicine versus something more functional.
Sure.
That's the whole argument right there is what we're arguing about is that whole argument.
I'm not necessarily arguing that though, but at the same time, sugar in that type of quantity is such a well-known detriment to your health, especially chronically, that I find it would be really hard to argue against the case of, in that example, diet soda being worse off or equal to a regular soda.
Sure. Again, I think it's a stepping stone. I think if you look at it as a stepping stone, then okay, sure, it's fine. But if you're just saying you can drink all the diet soda you want because it's not bad for you, I disagree with that statement.
So yeah, I do believe there is a limit. So I don't think anybody should be drinking 3, 4, 5, 6 a day for any extended period of time. Like, yeah, if you had one day where you down a 2 liter of diet soda, it's not going to do anything to you. But if it's something where you have like 1 a day or 2 a day, as long as you're staying hydrated, I think that's totally fine. My personal opinion, I think that's totally fine.
And again, it also depends on like what your personal health struggle is, what it looks like. Because not every single person responds the same way. And we talk about all the time, how individual all of this stuff is. For some people, you might be able to have a diet soda or 2 every single day for the rest of your life and it not have any negative effect on you. But you might be somebody that it does greatly impact. And if you think oh, diet soda is totally fine for me, it's not an issue, then you would never even consider that being a problem, so you would never be able to fix that. Does that make sense?
Is there any telltale sign of what that would even look like if you were a person that was a poor responder to?
I mean, there are the obvious signs of your body not agreeing with an artificial sweetener. So having like a sensitivity to something, which is a little different than it like creating metabolic damage. Like those are two different things, right? So you can't see metabolic damage. It's not obvious. Metabolic damage can happen from basically anything, but I think artificial sweeteners are a contributor.
Okay.
If you're talking about a sensitivity to artificial sweeteners, that would be like the obvious signs of any sort of food sensitivity, meaning, gas, bloating, digestive issues, stuff like that. So if you struggle with gut health in general and you're somebody who does drink diet sodas regularly, that would be something for you to explore.
Yeah.
But if you didn't ever think that diet sodas had any impact at all, you would never think about trying that.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? I just don't want people to think that they're totally fine and all good, because they're not for everybody. But I'm also not trying to say that nobody should ever drink a diet soda ever in their life. I get it. If you like,
we clearly don't agree on this point, but
I know.
Because I like to go out and have a Diet Coke.
I know you do.
Yeah.
Yep, I'm with you. I see you do it. So.
Yeah, and I.
But you don't have any But you don't have any digestive issues. So right. In your situation, it might be totally fine.
And I mean, I do still kind of use it as a treat. I don't.
Yeah, and you're not drinking them every day. You drink them once.
Although I do have
a couple times a month.
I do have my Monster every morning.
Yeah, I know you do.
Yeah, so that's kind of there. I'm heavily in favor of 0-calorie Monsters.
Yeah, we know.
It's my
you get them delivered by the case.
Yeah. So whereas coffee is my my fall and winter drink, Monster is my spring and summer drink.
Yeah, that's a whole nother conversation on its own. I don't like it, but it's fine.
Is that another conversation on its own?
No, I guess it's the same. It's the artificial sweeteners and I don't know all the junk that they put in it.
It's just caffeine and goodness.
Oh, caffeine and goodness. Is that what the ingredients label says?
I mean, I feel good.
I'm glad you feel so good drinking them.
I'd imagine that's one of the ingredients,
right? Gosh. Yeah, so that's my opinion on artificial sweeteners. It's not for everybody. You should consider the fact that it might be hurting you if you run into, health problems, health issues. But it's not just for people with gut issues. It's for people who experience any sort of inflammation-related disease. Okay, so people with hormone imbalances, people with autoimmunity, really any chronic disease, it's worth looking into, what's in the food that you eat in general.
Right.
Artificial sweeteners being just one of the many things that we look at.
Yeah.
But if you're the perfect picture of health, okay, fine, whatever, indulge and do whatever you want, but.
Right. So again,
that's not a lot of people in this world, if we're honest.
I would never recommend you to keep doing something if you were having some sort of negative response to it. So if you're drinking diet soda and you have terrible abdominal pain or but
again, it's not always that obvious though. It's not always, it could be fatigue, it can be brain fog, it can be, again, if we're talking about inflammation and not just sensitivities, going back to the whole metabolic damage piece, that's stuff that creeps up and builds up over time, and those are symptoms that we've kind of just written off as being normal. That could be anxiety. That can be, all these things that we accept as just being a part of our lives can be kind of a picture of metabolic damage.
Well, I mean, the frontier of all the research that's going on with gut health and mental health and the connection there, I think we'll know a lot more in the next 5 to 10 years.
I think we will. I think it's worth a shot. I think if you have a chronic disease, then you might want to pay some more attention and be more careful.
Yeah. Is diet still going to be worse than regular soda in that instance?
I kind of just see them as being on the same level. I don't really see one as being, if you think in terms of calories and macros, obviously diet soda is always going to be, quote, healthier. But if you're thinking just general health and well-being, I see them as being kind of equal.
Well, so, okay, let me position it. One last question. If it's in a specifically weight loss needing individual. Which one is going to have
it would still depend on if they have chronic disease. If you have chronic disease, you have to fix that first before you can even lose weight.
But you've got, say they're only going to adhere to the diet if they've got some sort of soda in there. They get to pick the regular or they get to pick the diet. Which one are you giving them?
I mean, I would probably recommend that they choose the diet soda.
Okay. That's all I'm asking.
Is that just like you just really wanted to get me to say that I would recommend it to one person?
I'm just giving real world examples here. That's all.
Again, if it benefits your macros, if you're super super focused on a weight loss goal, then yeah, absolutely. Like use some. I would recommend using natural sweeteners. Like this is kind of where it goes into.
Because we know the health benefits of weight loss. There's no argument.
No, we know the health benefits of weight loss. We also know that weight loss follows better metabolic health. So
right.
Your outside body reflects your inside body, right? So
absolutely.
If the inside of your body is working well, then the outside of your body will respond to diet, to exercise, whatever. So I think you always have to see both of those pieces together. You can't just address weight loss from the outside. You can't just manipulate calories and exercise. You can't just come from that angle. You know?
If you're not healthy, yeah.
Well, but nobody's healthy. Like, nobody in this world is healthy anymore. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?
There are healthy people in this world.
You don't talk to enough people then. I don't know. Like, most people just write it off as feeling normal. You know what I mean? Like, most people struggle. I think you're, like, decently healthy, I guess. But, like, just because you are the exception doesn't mean that all these other people aren't.
No,
like,
I didn't say the majority of people are healthy.
But again, like, there are certain things like fatigue and you know, anxiety and, you know, energy peaks and valleys that we all just accept to be normal. And so we think we're healthy. Mm-hmm. We think we're healthy if we look good and we go to the gym and we eat healthy is what we think health looks like.
Yeah.
But it's not really what health looks like on the inside.
It's not the full picture.
Yeah.
Sure.
So I think that's just important to keep in mind. But going back to natural sweeteners, I recommend naturally sweetened things over artificially sweetened things.
So you're saying like stevia?
Kind of, sort of. I mean...
So what else is there? Enlighten me.
Well, so the two major ones right now are stevia and monk fruit, but stevia can also be processed. That's kind of where things get tricky is, once again, we've turned a natural health food into something more processed and artificial, because typically what happens is they take a stevia extract and they mix it in with another processed, almost like a filler. Like, the stevia that you get in a packet that's white crystal powder is not how it grows in nature. So that itself is not a natural product. So the processing that it has to go through to get to that point kind of strips away the benefits that you would get from it being natural. Does that make sense? It's not man-made, but it is mixed with, like, another man-made substance.
So you've got that and you've got monk fruit?
Monk fruit, yes. So again, monk fruit.
What on earth is a monk fruit?
Monk fruit. I honestly don't even know what it looks like. I don't know. I just know that it's really popular right now. It has a more natural flavor. Some people hate stevia because it has kind of like a fakey aftertaste.
Yeah, it does have a little strange aftertaste.
I have found that monk fruit doesn't have the same aftertaste.
I thought you'd never had it.
No, I've had it. I've just never seen it. I don't know what it looks like. I don't know what a monk fruit looks like.
Oh. You sure that's natural if you didn't see it from fruit to...
Okay. Have you ever seen a stevia plant before?
No.
I mean, I have, but you've never seen it.
I don't
use
stevia.
Did you like think that it was natural
or
not?
I drink Monster and I take my Ace K
I
and
know.
my everything
Oh my God,
else.
I know. But no, I've never seen one. It doesn't grow in the United States.
Why would I know that?
Does monk fruit sound like something that grows in the United States? It sounds tropical.
I don't know.
That sounds really tropical.
What about Hawaii?
I guess you're right. That's technically in the States, but it's not attached. So
you got me there. I think we're just like falling off a cliff here. So
no, I'm talking about natural sweeteners. Okay. Don't interrupt me. So anyway, it's kind of important to pay attention to where you get your natural sweeteners too, because we know that they can be turned from this natural product into something that's more processed. So stevia, to buy white packets at the grocery store, is probably still not in your best interest. Green leaf stevia is what you would want, which is the powdered up stevia leaves, as natural as you could get.
Sounds really tasty.
I mean, they grind it up. It's just like a powder like anything else. They also sell extracts. They, like liquid drops and things that are a little bit better. in the grand scheme. But yeah, so when it comes to sweetening things, I recommend more natural-based sweeteners over artificials. So yeah, that's my recommendation.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really cook anything that requires a sweetener, so I don't use any of them.
Yeah, but you have clients. What do you recommend to them? Diet soda? Great.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with a diet soda here or there. If you like it.
But what if they want their coffee sweetened? What would you tell them? Drink it black?
Yeah, that's the first thing
Okay,
I say.
Well, what if that's not... But what if that's not an option?
If that's not the option, then sweeten it however you like. Like, I don't really care.
So with real sugar? Is that what you tell them?
You can. I mean, a teaspoon of sugar is what, 7 grams of sugar?
A teaspoon's 4 grams,
I don't even know. 4 grams? So, like, it's so little impact at that point, unless you're having 6 coffees a day. That's a different story. But yeah, if you're just having a cup of coffee and you want to throw a packet of Splenda in there, you want to do a teaspoon of sugar, none of that's going to make any difference. It's such a small dose, I don't worry about it.
Okay, just curious.
Yeah.
Curious what you recommend.
Yeah. Now, the Starbucks drinks, that's a little different ballgame, but...
So do you disagree with all those artificial sugar syrups?
Do I disagree with them? I mean, I don't ever recommend a sugary syrup in any form.
What if it's a sugar-free syrup that's just a bunch of chemicals? How do you feel about that?
Yeah, it's fine.
Oh, you think that's fine? You think that's fine? They literally give you like a quarter cup of that chemical syrup in the bottom of your cup.
Yeah.
Oh, you don't believe that. Now you're just trying to stick to your guns. You don't even believe that. He is lying to himself.
Let me put it this way. If that's the worst thing you're doing with your diet, then you're doing pretty well for yourself. Can you agree to that? If the worst part of your diet is that you're doing a 0-calorie caramel chocolate sauce.
I disagree with your mindset about it, so I'm just going to disagree with you.
We're not going to agree on this one.
No, we're not.
So I think that's as far as we'll take this. So thank you guys for tuning in to this episode. If you've got anything you'd like us to cover in the future, feel free to reach out to myself at HypertroFit.com. You can find Alexa at therootedrd.com, and we will see you guys again next week.
We'll see you guys next week.